Hi, this is Dr. Anita with another diamond moment. The diamonds of our lives are produced through time, heat, and pressure. It's what we utilize this valuable information to do and to change in our lives that determines its eventual outcome and our overall well-being. We've been talking about the subject and the topic of stop waiting for the world to change and become that change. And today, I want to look at becoming that change through open-mindedness. Sometimes as we grow and proceed through life, we feel as though we've got it all together. We know, we understand, we don't need to learn anything else. You've developed a concept or a precept about something, and you feel as though that is it. That is the end all, be all, end of the subject. Put a period at the end of the sentence and drop the mic. And sometimes we have a perception, but we have not looked at a subject from various degrees, from various vantage points in order to get a different perspective on the same topic. Many times it requires us looking at something from a different perspective in order to get the fullness out of that particular experience or situation. We can look at it in this way, that when the light refracts off of a particular facet in that diamond, it presents a different perspective from which to view the beauty of the diamond. Therefore, we have to stay open-minded. We can't take the first lesson from any particular subject matter and allow it to be the end-all, be-all in our knowledge of that topic. So as we're moving forward and growing and becoming more and more of who we were created to be, it's necessary to allow ourselves to stay open-minded. There may be another entire lesson that you can glean from this one experience that really will make a change in an enormous way. Don't forget, one small change changes everything. We've talked previously about the fact that you can have a vanilla cake mix and you put in 1 cup of chocolate. And that if you swirl it partially through, you end up with a marble cake. If you continue to incorporate that chocolate into the cake, you get an entirely different thing. Yeah, it may taste a lot like a vanilla cake because of the lack of the amount of chocolate, but that color is changed forever. So we have to allow small changes into the way that we have perceived any particular situation in order to be able to gain additional knowledge from that experience. It allows us to adapt every situation that we've encountered because the experience at this point, now that we understand that one small change can change everything, we are not experiencing the unexpected. We expect things to change. When we expect things to change, we expect to grow by that change. And in so doing, we come out with an entirely different experience and a potential for growth that may have never presented itself had we not experienced this particular change from the normal outcome. So how do we move forward in these changes? Number one, we have to look within. So much of the time we've been discussing the value of the intuitive part of you, looking within. We've talked previously about the fact that what we are not able to see is more real than what we can see. If we look at that from the perspective of an idea, that idea generates from the ether. And if we put action to that thought or that idea, we're able to bring something into the material world that didn't exist before. Conversely, when someone passes away, we understand that that body, that vessel, that avatar that is presented in a casket is the person that you remember, but there's something different. They're not exactly who they were. They don't look exactly the same. Yes, we understand that when the spirit man, the consciousness, the life force of the person is removed from that outer shell body or avatar that the inner man lives in. Remember, we are spirit beings first, vibrational spiritual beings first, who live inside of a body, a physical body. And we have within that, I term our soul, our consciousness, our mind, our will, and our emotions. So now when that spiritual man is that vibrational being moves into another realm, is transitioned out of this physical realm into the next phase of their existence, we can determine that something has changed. That person that we knew, were familiar with, loved dearly, while we see that outer shell, we can definitely understand that who they were, their mind, their will, emotions, and their spirit man is no longer residing within that body. So when we understand that, and we're able to accept the fact that what we cannot see is actually more real than what we can see. When we realize that fact, it's necessary to go deeper within. This is why we have been listening to, learning to listen to our intuition, learning to tap in once again to the most real portion of who we are, that spirit man. And once we realize that that vibrational being is actually determining what takes place within the physical being that we live in, within the physical world that we live in, we're able to give more attention to looking within for our guidance instead of looking outside of ourselves for guidance. Yes, it's good to get information about the outside world. You can't know what you need to put on in the course of a day until you're able to determine what the weather is. If it's snowing outside, putting on shorts and flip-flops is not what you want to do unless you're planning on catching a cold or getting extremely sick. But if you realize that it's snowing outside and that it's appropriate for me to have on the proper footwear, the proper outerwear, maybe covering your head with something or putting a scarf around your neck and gloves on your hands to protect your extremities, then you understand by evaluating that outside world what's necessary in order to protect yourself. If we look at it from a perspective, maybe you live in a climate where it's extremely hot. If it's hot, putting on a heavy coat is not what would be most beneficial in that environment. So yes, we do have to pay attention to what's taking place outside, but we also have to look more deeply into the inside in order to determine what I need to do to move forward, allowing that inner man to be the lead as opposed to bringing up the rear. From your head knowledge, we need to utilize more of our heart knowledge. We're not talking about, again, the blood pump. We're talking about that which relates internally, that brings us a prosperous mindset as well as outer prosperity. And again, the prosperity is not just financial. It's everything. It's spiritual, it's emotional, it's social, it's financial, as well as physical. So we have to take a really good image of ourselves in order to determine what is going on that will bring prosperity, abundance, the things that we want in life into our lives. And when we learn how to be still, when we learn mindfulness, being able to sit and be in the moment, and learning that when we're able to do things like deep breathing exercises, relaxing our bodies from our feet to the top of our head. For those who believe in the chakra system, being able to determine where blockages, where you're tight, where you are not flowing freely with your emotions, in your spiritual being. When you're able to assess those, we're able to find out where fear, anxiety, trepidation, resistance is hiding. And once we can do that, we're able to evaluate ourselves more deeply, look backward, inside, and allow our higher self to show us where things changed, when things changed. And once we're able to recognize, we become conscious enough to recognize that something has modified who we initially are, then we're able in that recognition to overcome whatever it is that is holding us back. It's very, very important to remain open-minded. If you know it all, there's nothing for you to learn. If you have been there, done that, got the t-shirt, a cup, a cap, and a pen, and the magnet, you have nothing that you can learn. However, you're cutting yourself short because you have everything to learn. Learn to look at life through a different perspective, a different facet of that experience in order to gain the highest and the best from a particular experience. Realize that some of that trepidation, that fear that we experience, even for some, just preparing to look at a situation, gives a very big clue that there's something there that you need to evaluate. There's something there that you need to see. And being willing to open ourselves up enough, to be vulnerable enough to say, I don't know it all. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. This one piece of information that I found out today has caused me to need to go back and reevaluate everything, because I do get now that one small change changes everything. As we look at our meditation for our affirmation, we're going to do it on process. Becoming is a process, and a process has stages. This is my process, and I will allow myself to advance through its stages. I won't rush, because the details of my process are revealed in the stages, and it is a part of my growth. And then in our meditation, to think on this: I'm no longer invested in pleasing others. I'm learning that my first obligation is to me. Join me on YouTube. Join me on, and if you haven't, the episodes are uploaded to YouTube. If you're listening to me from YouTube, please go back and look at or listen to from the very beginning. I know that it's a lot of episodes that are there, but go back to the very beginning and begin to listen and build your foundation. Be ready to move forward as we continue becoming more than we've ever been in this evolution of ourselves. We're looking at our intuition. We're looking at the challenges. We're looking at how we interact with others. And it's very necessary to get all the foundational information for that. Otherwise, the building, that life that we're preparing to sit on this foundation, won't have all of the structure and the strength that it needs to bring you where you want to go. Please join me on NoomVibe, as well as FanBase. Visit my website at www.DrAnitaMc.com. That's DrAnitaMc.com. And if you haven't done so, purchase your copy of A Diamond Journey Journal, Becoming is a Process. A Process Has Stages by Dr. Anita McLaughlin. We're going to continue moving. We're going to continue doing what we need to do and looking inward, evaluating. But remember, in order to become that change that we've been waiting for, we have to allow ourselves to remain open-minded.